Okay, my name is Haziq Ali. I'm the captain of Millionaire Minded. If you're on this call, then you're one of the chosen. Millionaire Minded is all about helping entrepreneurs to take it to the next level, whether they're network marketers, whether they're salespeople. As we all know, entrepreneurship has nothing to do with opening up a business and everything to do with serving opportunities that you see plain as day that nobody else is getting to. That's what entrepreneurship is all about. So, Millionaire Minded is for serving the entrepreneur. So, this week we've got an insane lineup. I don't know how many of you guys have ever heard of Peak Potential, but it's a company that was started by a guy named T. Harv Eker. He's the guy that wrote Speed Wealth, which basically outlines how he went from zero to a millionaire in 2.5 years. One of his most famous adages is that if it takes you longer than 3 years to make $1 million in any business, you're doing something wrong. His name is T. Harv Eker. He named himself T. Harv Eker just because it sounded harder to him than Harv Eker. T just stands for the. So he's basically calling himself the Harv Eker. But let me tell you something. While you've never heard of him, you've definitely heard of some of his clients. Oh, names like Wayne Dyer ring a bell? What about Mark Victor Hansen? Okay, maybe Jack Canfield. Maybe you've heard of Jack Canfield. He's Mark Victor Hansen's partner in the best-selling book series of all time. To this point, they're approaching 1 billion books sold, Chicken Soup for the Soul. They've got Chicken Soup for the Soul dog food, et cetera, so forth. Like, these guys are getting to it. But how does that kind of thing happen? It happens with coaches. It happens with training. So what T. Harv Eker has done, there's only one other guy on the planet that you could even mention in the same breath as him, and that would be Tony Robbins. But the difference between T. Harv Eker and Tony Robbins is that Tony Robbins is all about training his clients versus T. Harv Eker is about training trainers. So ladies and G's, I just now got back from L.A., where they had us in a boot camp, the likes of which you've never experienced unless you've been in a real boot camp, right? We were in there from 9 a.m. to about 1 a.m., Wednesday through Sunday. 5 hardcore days of just saturating your brain with some of the most life-changing information that you will ever come across. When I tell you that if you can become a good trainer and then add into it good marketing, you will have money the rest of your life, I mean it. Now, you may be saying to yourself, oh, but what would I train people on? I'm not an expert at anything. Let me tell you something. You better be. You better acknowledge the fact that you are already, because generalists are normally the brokest. You never win a swim meet by dipping your toe in the water, right? The richest are always experts at something. So all you want to do is ask yourself, what am I really, really good at? You guys hear me say it all the time. Even a homeless man is an expert. He's an expert at survival. True or true? Can the homeless man not tell you where all of the best blankets are, who gives you extra soup, where you can go to get an extra bed where they have more beds than this particular? He's an expert. If he's been to this type of class, he'd be doing a workshop on how to survive as a homeless person. And then he could actually get himself out of that particular chapter of his life just by using the abilities and the experiences, just by using his pain, which is your number one credential, ladies and G's. It's your pain that's going to bring you to change, but only when you decide to use it to serve. Because as we all know, pain is a gift, but hey, ain't nothing a gift until you give it. True or true? So we're going to talk about what is train a trainer. We're going to talk about what is super learning. I'm going to run you guys through a presentation sequence, and then we're going to talk about how to create a proper bio. But presentation sequence has to do with a lot more than just deciding to be a workshop leader. It has a lot more to do with just deciding that you want to train other people. Presentation sequence pretty much goes across the board. So if you already know that you want some more of this information, email me, haziqali@gmail.com, HAZIQALI@gmail.com. I'm looking for people to help me promote the calls. I'm looking for people that want to, get more focused what they call laser coaching from me and my team. And in exchange, we'll have different things that, you can help us out with. One of them is making sure that we spread this. As you know, we do not charge for these calls, even though everybody knows that we should. If you guys even knew how much I paid for that trainer course, I'll tell y'all, we're all friends and family, $5,000. But was that a cost or was that an investment? Well, I'm going to let you be the judge when we get finished with this call. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk about another guy who's just a world-famous trainer. His name is Stephen Covey. Maybe the name rings a bell, and maybe you already knew that this guy was a billionaire. But how he became a billionaire was because he's one of the top corporate trainers. His company is a top training company for corporations on the planet, Franklin Covey. Now, we don't know much about Franklin, right? But we've all heard the name Stephen Covey. So what I figured I would start out with is giving you guys the 7 habits of highly effective people. This is what made Stephen Covey such an icon in the world of personal development. I know you got your pen and pad ready. If you don't, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. My Instagram is at Haziq Ali, Haziqali. My Facebook is Haziq Ali and the number 1 at the end of it. And you'll know because I'm sitting on some elephant, right? The YouTube channel is Millionaire Minded TV, which stay tuned on that. Subscribe if you haven't. I know about 800 of you guys have chosen to subscribe so far. We're humbled by that. But goodness knows, the whole world needs this information. I feel sort of like Peak Potentials. Their goal is to achieve global peace through helping people to self-actualize. Well, I feel somewhat similar because my goal is to achieve my goal is to get rid of depression, addiction, anxiety, misery, alcoholism, domestic violence, all of the things that cause suffering in the world through helping people to turn on their genius, through helping people to understand that every child was born a genius. But before we get into that, let's just run through the 7 habits of highly effective people. You want to write these down, and then you want to write them on not just in your pad, but write them on your heart. Like really, really, really stuff this stuff into your soul so that you can begin to change your life bit by bit. Habit number 1 is be proactive. Ladies and G's, you are not a creature of circumstance. You are a creator of circumstance. The first rule to you becoming successful is that you take personal responsibility for your life. It is not your mom's fault. It is not your dad's fault. It is not the person that did you wrong's fault. It is not your friend's fault. It is not your enemy's fault. Everything starts with the man in the mirror. Everything starts with the woman in the mirror. And if you do not take personal responsibility for yourself, like this whole society is trying to trick you out of doing, everybody gives you all kinds of reasons why it's okay that you're mediocre. Ladies and G's, you're going to have to take a stand for yourself. This is the ability to control one's environment rather than have it control you. You cannot control the wind. That's true enough. But ladies and G's, you can definitely adjust your sails. I'm going to say that again. You can't control the wind, but you can always control the sails. This is 90% condition. This is 10% condition. This is 90% how you respond to it. You have a choice to be self-determined. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. It doesn't matter if you're opening up a business or if you're about to give a presentation. It doesn't matter if you're doing network marketing or if you're setting up the goal to just smash through the rest of this year. You have to begin with the end in mind. Many people don't know that when you start a business, the whole goal is to set it up for you to sell the business. Many people don't realize that, but that's because many people have horrible teachers. True or true? So, number 3 then is put the first thing first. I love the way Bob Proctor puts it. The main thing is keeping the main thing the main thing. Can you dig that? But Covey calls this the habit of personal management. This is about organizing and implementing activities that are in line with what you just did for habit number 2. Habit number 2, which is begin with the end in mind, is all about mental creation. But habit number 3, putting first things first, that's about physical creation. That's about the fact that now that you believe it, you're about to see it. But it takes you putting the first thing first. Habit number 4 then. What's the next step after you got it in your mind and then you're starting to put it down into the real world? You're starting to manifest it. Well, you better need some people, right? If you can do it by yourself, that means you really ain't doing nothing. True or true? So if you're working with other people, you've got to learn how to think win-win. Everybody's walking around with that headset on. It's tuned to what radio station? Everybody that's been on our Obsessed with Success call from call number 1 through this is call number 38, y'all already know the answer. Everybody's walking around with a radio station on that's tuned into WIIFM. And if you don't learn how to play music that's in that genre, you're going to lose every time. But the good news is if you can learn how to do that, every song is going to get airplay and every song is going to be a hit. Of course, those call letters give us the big clue. It stands for what's in it for me. So thinking win-win is about interpersonal leadership. It's necessary because any achievement that's worth anything is going to be dependent on your team. Habit number 4, seek first to understand, then you seek to be understood. Habit number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. You got to diagnose before you can prescribe. Is that right or is that true? If I'm not even hearing what it is you're saying, what do I have to offer to the puzzle? Ladies and G's, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. I hope that makes sense to somebody out there. Habit number 6, synergize. Now, Covey calls this the habit of cooperation. This is about collaboration, guys. This is not about competition. Competition is a scarcity mindset. Competition is you proclaiming to the universe that there ain't enough for me, that I must get first place or I'm stuck with second or third. But ladies and G's, life is not a race. Life is a classroom. What does that mean? It's not about first place, second place, third place. It's about we can all get an A. We can all get an A. And if you get an A plus and I get an A minus, there's something that the man in my mirror didn't do as well. So what can I do? I can learn from that and step my life up. And then habit number 7 is one of my favorites. Sharpen the saw. This is the habit of renewal, according to Covey. It surrounds every other habit here. Why? I think George Washington, it was either George Washington or Abe Lincoln. I always get mixed up between these two dudes and their different stories. One was chopping down a cherry tree and, But at any rate, one of them gave this adage that's always stuck with me, where they were like, yo, if I had 10 minutes to chop down this tree, I'm going to spend 9 minutes sharpening my saw. That's what you want to do. What are you doing with your free time? The reason we have these calls at 5:15 Eastern is because a lot of my friends and family are on the East Coast, and that's rush hour. So our whole goal is to turn your rush hour into sales traffic. But guess what? If you're not interested in sharpening your saw, it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. So what I'm trying to explain is that it's all about preparing. I think the way Drake said it was the realest ever. He's like, being ready is real. I don't know about you. But when you're ready, you ain't got to get ready. Being ready don't mean get. You hear me? So those are the 7 habits of highly effective people as taught by Stephen Covey. Y'all know I'm all about Waggy University. That means take it to Wikipedia, take it to Amazon, take it to Google, take it to YouTube, and study these mentors we're giving you. Guys, the economic crisis sucks. The socio-economic crisis, the environment, that sucks. But none of this compares, even a little bit, to the main crisis that we have facing ourselves right now. Of course, I'm talking about the crisis of education. Quick history lesson. Back in the 20s and 30s, when Rockefeller had more money than God, right? In fact, he used to, because he was a deeply religious dude, according to folklore. Some would debate that, you know, when you like look at some of the actions that he performed, they'd be like, well, dang, if he's religious, I'd love to know who's demonic, right? But he felt he was given his talent for making money by God. He felt that the same way certain people know how to be a really good painter, he was put here to be a really good money-making dude. But what he did was so insidious, but that helped him make a lot more money because he was involved in so many different industries. A lot of people barely realize it. He is the reason that our whole education system switched from the way it was. Let me back up a little bit. People like Michelangelo or Da Vinci, why is Da Vinci's name Da Vinci? Because he was Leonardo of Vinci, this town that his parents, the minute they spotted the talent in him, they took him to this town so that he could just absorb the best of the best that were doing these particular forms of artistry. So he ends up working with relief. He ends up working with sculpture. He ends up working with paint. That's why Da Vinci gave us all these inventions, 70% of which he never even built. But he just left us the blueprints to have a ball with. The dude invented a helicopter way back then. The dude invented battering rams, et cetera, so forth. Again, just Google it because we don't have time to get into all of that. Michelangelo, same way. At the age of 8, yeah, we consider him this huge genius now, but understand at the age of 8, he was given a hammer and a chisel and sent to study with a master. What happened with us? Somewhere along the line, we lost sight of the fact that jobs ain't for money. Y'all hear me say this all the time, but jobs are for education. Well, what Rockefeller did right around the 20s or the 30s was he switched up the whole educational system for America, because at a certain point what they realized was that if they continued to educate us properly, what they were going to get was more competition instead of more employees. Ladies and G's, he went over to a city called Leipzig, Germany. They found these guys that were doing this experimental psychology. This is when it switched from psychiatry, y'all, to psychology. But to this point, psychology was the study of the soul. Oh, but at this point, they decided that man had no soul, that man was just a collection of wants that were given to him by the stimuli around him. So they said, if that's the case, we're going to control the stimuli. Why do they call it kindergarten? Because that's the German word for growing children. They wanted to grow soldiers. So when they have you pledging allegiance to the flag here in the land of the thief, home of the land of the free, home of the brave, right? It's because they don't want you pledging allegiance to your own dreams. They don't want you pledging allegiance to your own team. They don't want you pledging allegiance to your soul and the fact that there is a hole in the side of the planet that only you can fit. No, they don't want you pledging allegiance to that. And that's why you see misery and abject depression and abject poverty all around you. It's because of the fact that you have been trained to become a worker bee. And it started in the 20s and the 30s with this new study of psychology that was funded by Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller. Many consider him a scumbag for these reasons. But it's a new day. Ladies and G's, we now have the power. Let me tell you a little bit about how a brain cell works. If you were to picture a brain cell to the left and a brain cell to the right, and we're going to get into a little bit of neuroscience real quick, right? All right. These brain cells build what are called neural paths. And every time you perform an action, that pathway between those two cells gets stronger. It begins to build a groove. Now, what the brain does is when it builds those grooves, you now have some stability, some kind of structure between those brain cells. And guess what the brain does? Because it's so efficient. What the brain does is get rid of cells you don't need. This is where Alzheimer's comes from. If you ain't going to use it, you're going to lose it. That's the law of use. We'll get into some of that next week, the 12 laws of the universe. But my point to you is that getting stupid is the brain's way of being efficient. So when we were teenagers and we was trying this, trying that, that's the natural experimentation process that helps us find out what works so we can keep that and throw out the rest. Ladies and gents, that's why we need great teachers, because somebody has to be there to help us work through this process, help us expose ourselves to the things that we have a natural inclination to be doing so we can do that on a world-class level and therefore serve the world, therefore push mankind forward, therefore save. People be talking about save the planet. I hope y'all know the planet going to be cool. We need to save mankind. The planet is okay. The planet has already gotten rid of the Aztecs, and here we are. The Egyptians, where are the descendants of the people that bought those pyramids? What about Atlantis? Bought those pyramids. Built those pyramids. What about Atlantis? They'll go deep into the ocean, but you know they've only covered about 3% of the ocean floor so far, and our world is 75% water. They've only covered 3% of it, but they find all of these ruins that are mind-boggling. Like, where did these people go? Well, we know certain things, like we know, the Greeks entertained themselves into extinction, right? It became all about entertainment. Some would say that's where America is headed. Why am I bringing all this up? Because you need to be on these calls. You need to be taking personal development dead serious. Here's another name for you guys to Google. Giorgio Lozanov, Lozanov, Lozanov. This guy invented what's called accelerated learning, which is what we were learning for that boot camp last week. Accelerated learning, or super learning, its first name was Suggestopedia or Suggestology. Giorgio Lozanov is a dude from Bulgaria who basically came to fame because he claimed and proved numerous times that he could teach you a foreign language in 48 hours. So, of course, we snatched him up. We pulled him from up under the Iron Curtain, spirited him here to America, and somebody researched with this dude, studied with this dude, pulled out all of the best parts of his thing, and that's where we created super learning. So super learning, or accelerated learning, is a multi-sensorial way of learning and retaining information. To make it clearer, 99.9% of teachers, preachers, salesmen, network marketers, entrepreneurs, parents, they're doing it wrong. But it's not the teacher's fault. It's the fact that the system is built to keep y'all a bunch of clones, to keep us a bunch of cogs in the machine, what that movie The Matrix called copper tops. It's the system that's designed for that. At one point I stood up and I shared something because one of the things they said was that a man's purpose leads to a man's passion. And I took it on the chin the first day. And the second day, it got by the third day, I couldn't take it no more, y'all. And I had to stand up and explain that I disagree. I know y'all are way richer than me currently, but hey, this is how I've always explained it. It is passion times service that equals your purpose. How are we going to say your purpose leads to passion when half these people have no idea what their purpose is? Why? Because it's been conditioned and trained out of them by a system that got no love for them, by a system that only sees them, like George Bush said when he sent out them stimulus checks after the planes hit the towers. He said, go buy a barbecue grill or Al-Qaeda wins. Go buy a flat screen or Al-Qaeda wins. That's because most of y'all are copper tops. Most of us are copper tops. We're people that only help the economy by cashing our check and buying crap. I rebuke that. The devil is a lie. Your goal to be here is to serve humanity. I'm not even going to get too deep into it, but research and find out when they started Christianity. If they didn't start Christianity till 2,000 years after this dude Jesus died, which we know that wasn't his name because there ain't even no J in the Hebrew language, right? But if you know they didn't start the religion till 2,000 years after this man died, maybe he was just a dope dude. Maybe he ran around serving so many people that they were like, yo, let's call it Christianity. We called him. Let's call it like one of my partners, his buddy Mark. Let's call it Markism. What about Buddha? They didn't even start Buddhism till Buddha was just an incredible dude. He was just an incredible servant. So then they called it Buddhism. Let's all be like that guy. Let's do that. Because the way that guy interacted with mankind, the way that dude left a hole in the earth when he died, where it's like we can never replace him. I don't know somebody that could cover for me. That's our goal out here. But you'll never hit that world-class level if you don't study. If you're not out here putting some time into exactly what you need to be learning, how are you going to serve the planet? And the size of your lifestyle is directly equal to the size of the problems you're able to solve. So this is what super learning is all about. That's what Giorgio Lazanov was all about. And that's who T. Harv Eker came along and studied, along with many, many, many others that you hear us talking about, the 38 calls straight so far, that changes your life. The rest of your life will not be the same when this call is over if you let it happen. So, what are the main takeaways? There's no way we'll be able to fit all of this in one call. There's no way. But what are the main takeaways? Guys, if there is one thing you want to leave this call understanding, it's that context is far more important than content. What do we see in classrooms with these teachers? If you speak up too much, if you do too much interaction, they're going to fail you. They're going to kick you out of school, or they're going to give you some drugs because they want everybody docile. They want everybody asleep because asleep people make the best worker bees. They ain't here to feed your intellect, feed your imagination. Hey, stop daydreaming. Stop it. No, stop. Move. When that school bell rings, it's to remind you of the factories. They want you in a state of mind that when that bell rings, it's time to switch to a different task in the factory. That's where the school bell comes from. But context is way more important than content. So what is context made up of? Beliefs and expectations. That's one. Write these down, y'all. Participation. Environment. Energy. Rules. Acknowledgement. All of these things make up your context. So when you're talking to people, whether you're making a sales presentation or whether you're talking to your nephew or niece, your son or your daughter about something you need them to do, you've got to establish the context first, and that's going to do all of the work for you. The rest of your job is going to be easy once you establish that context and use some of these other systems that I'm about to give you. But when you start talking about environment, rules, participation, acknowledgement, the energy in the room, you're starting to talk about building a container that makes it safe for the content you want to pour in. But guess what? If you got holes in that context, ain't none of these kids learning. Ain't nobody in the room about to recall nothing you just said. We all wasting our breath. Guys, teachers ain't preachers. Teachers have to be leaders. That means I got to make my crew feel safe. That means I need to have rituals in place so that my crew understands that they're the crew. And the list goes on. So they gave us a specific way to begin presenting. So what I figured I would do for you guys is I would run you through the exact steps and then illustrate how you do a presentation when you know you've got some information that the people need and is vital, not only to your own dharma, not only to your own purpose in life, but that it's vital to them that they learn this. Because you're here to change lives, not just intend to do it. Intentions ain't enough when you're talking about playing on the world-class level. So before I give you the presentation sequence, let's go over a few of the things that you can't go without when you're making a presentation. What is energy? Well, Energy is all about when you have people clapping. Energy is all about when you see people falling asleep on the front row. Energy is all about when you stop the class and have people share with each other, or you have them share with the whole class. Energy is all about making people repeat the points that are important. Energy is all about acknowledging people with love and enthusiasm. The next one that you want to have in your mind when you're talking about accelerated learning is the seating. Every presentation or seminar you ever went to where they had you sitting behind desks, they were doing it wrong. That ain't accelerated learning. Why are all of these barriers between the energy? It's all about theater-style seating. You're creating bonding. You're packing people in closer. That raises their energy. And when the energy is high, people buy. We're going to get to that in a minute. You don't even need no podium. When you go to these things, and hit me at haziqali@gmail.com if you want information about how to go to the website, sign up for Millionaire Mind Intensive, et cetera, so forth. But when you go to these different seminars, what you're going to find out is that they don't be using no podium. They use this little thing that you remember from a choir director, where he sits his music on the stand and waves his baton at the orchestra. Why? Because we're all connected. I'm not above you. I'm not beneath you. We are all going through this journey together, sharing information that can change our lives. I'm learning it better by teaching it to you. You're learning it better by teaching it to your brother. And if we all have candles, we're all going to light up the world. It don't make my candle darker by lighting yours. The third element would be the flip chart. PowerPoints, I get sometimes we use that for duplication purposes, but half the time those PowerPoints are wrong. All these PowerPoints you see that are built around, well, features, I'm not going to make nobody wrong. I'm just going to say it's not as good as it can be. It's all about flip charts. And then you rip the pages off the flip chart and you put them high on the wall around the room. Why? Because now you're accessing visual memory. Again, that's how the brain works. But you block the flip chart while you're writing on it. You don't do what every teacher did all through elementary school and high school and in college, right? Where they say, boys and girls, what's the answer? And then you say the answer, and then they write it on the board. Yawn, yawn. One of the major keys to accelerated learning is the suspense. You make them say the word. You block the board from the class, you write on the board, and then when you get from in front of it, you ask the class to say it. You never even say the word. You make the classroom say it, you make your audience say it, and then you might repeat it. But you never let them see it till you've done, because suspense heightens some of those neural paths in the brain that locks the information in. Hey, y'all, how come you don't remember no information from elementary school, but you can remember some really good times with some of your friends? You can remember some really bad times, but you don't remember none of the information. Why is that? The fourth element would be states. The three states that we're going to talk about, because there are more, are mental, physical, and emotional. Here's the magic. If you change one, you change all three. So you might say something physical while you're talking to your audience, like turn to your neighbor. How many have been in a church where the preacher did that? You might change their state with something emotional, like a story. Like, I remember this one time when I was this age and such. You're changing people's state. You're changing their state. You want to put them on this like roller coaster. You don't want to be boring. You don't want to be normal. That's accelerated learning, though. Or maybe you want to change their state through a mental thing. So that's when you ask questions. Who knows blank? And you take some calls out the audience, right? Or you say, I've got 2 rules for you. How many rules? 2, right? I know I got y'all on mute, but I'm sure you're with me. What are some other state changes? Jokes, lying down, massages, raising your hands, high fives, clapping, funny faces, right? Reviewing, thinking, teaching, drawing. outrageous language. Sometimes you might just throw a curse word in the middle of your thing. It just changes people's state. They woke up now. You're emphatic about the point. Music is a huge state change. I was taught by one of my mentors that when you're studying, you want to use Baroque classical music. I just found out why this past week, though. Turns out Baroque classical music goes about 60 beats a minute. Guess what else goes 60 beats a minute? Your heart. So it's perfect for writing and thinking because it's in tune with the laws of the universe. One of my mentors that I've never met before is a guy named Bucky Fuller, the late, great Buckminster Fuller. Google him. Buckminster Fuller. This is a guy who was one of our modern-day geniuses. This is the only dude that I'll put on the same level with a Ben Franklin or a George Washington Carver. Google George Washington Carver if you don't know. Buckminster Fuller, he always talks about how it's much easier to ride a horse in the direction it's already going. What does that mean to you? That means the more laws of the universe you can observe and put into play in your life, that's the more supreme you're going to live. The more you live by the supreme being's laws, that's the more supreme you're going to have a life. You've got to raise your standards of life so you can raise your standards of living. Simple, right? Well, one of those laws is the fact that, hey, if you play the right music that's going along with the physical functions in your body, then yeah, you're going to be in tune with everything. But there's other forms of music that we want to bring in to achieve other states. So let's say you don't have your audience writing or thinking. You don't want to play Baroque music. Maybe it's the intro. They're walking into the building. So maybe we throw on Pharrell. Maybe we throw on some, 'cause I'm happy along if you feel, right? I ain't going to do it to y'all. Okay, what about when it's time to have them do a collaboration? Maybe it's time to play something like, they gave us this one band that's insane called Acoustic Alchemy, where it's upbeat, it has no words, and it's the perfect music to play while you have them doing a written exercise. We'll get to that in a minute. Or maybe you want to have them do a state change where they get more emotional, right? And you're taking them through memories. Maybe you want to play some Enya. But the point is, different types of music will change the state of the people in the room so that you got them on that roller coaster, not on a carousel. We fall asleep on carousels. Ding, 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 right? No, this is about roller coaster life. Being on a roller coaster is about the emotional highs and the emotional lows that keep you engaged. You also have rituals. The fifth one is rituals. What can you do to have a special handshake, to have a special way that we greet each other? You know, I always call y'all millionaires. That's a ritual. When I'm talking to y'all in my inbox, I'll be like, millionaires, what's up? Those are rituals. You know, when they had us in this boot camp this weekend, you come in, you got to start dancing. You know what I mean? You might jump up on stage and dance. You can look at the crowd while you're doing it. These are rituals, and these are important, right? Reading declarations. You know, those of you guys that have been to Millionaire Mind Intensive with me, these are all different rituals. So let's get into this sequence because we don't have much more time on this call. You know, I try to end these 45 minutes straight. But, okay, so this is how you start a presentation. The first thing is when you get on stage, you scan the room. You stand there and ground yourself. So the whole point that you want to do when you're standing there is just look around, see who you got in the room. Stage fright mostly comes from you being self-absorbed. Did you know that? Once you stop thinking about yourself and make this whole experience client-centered, oh my goodness, you've just changed your life. Because stage fright will be a thing of the past because you realize nothing's more important than me making sure these people get this information. So that's the first step, scanning the crowd. After that, you ask some enrolling questions. So my particular EQ was, who feels like if they could do it over up to this point, they could have done a lot more with what they've been given? Everybody raises their hands. Who doesn't feel that way at all? Maybe a couple other people that are sarcastic raise their hand, right? How many of you have ever known somebody who didn't seem to realize how special they were? Show of hands. Because what you're trying to do is enroll what percentage of the room? 100% of the room. Guys, my life has changed. I did not understand all of the principles at work with even some of the things I did naturally. I was doing it naturally, but I didn't understand. So that's what you're doing with the enrolling. That's what you're doing with the enrolling question. After that, you go to name and info. So write that down third, ladies and G's. Name and intro. My name is Haziq Ali, and I want to welcome you to the Genius Lab. We're going to explore, experiment, and experience some simple tools and rules for clicking on your genius. Millionaires, genius is a talent. Genius is not a talent. Genius is a skill. After that, you move to gratitude. Number 4 is gratitude. Thank you so much for showing up here and opening your hearts and minds. I honor that, and I realize you could be anywhere. But since I believe that nothing happens by chance or coincidence, I know we're here for a reason. Our job is to be here 100%. What's the word? 100%. Right? You ask them that, and then our job is to be present. What's the word? Present. You're locking them in. You're making them respond to what you're saying. Next, 5th, we call it earning the right. So you got to earn the right after that, right? Where you're like, okay, for the next 8, that's when you tell your story. Your story is based around 2 things. ETR, they call it, right? Here are the 2 things you want to write down about ETR. You can pull your earning the right from different numbers, from different credentials, from different things you're doing. Now, some of you are like me. You don't have a college degree. Some of you are like me. You've never had a job. You know what I mean? You've never had nobody. So you don't have, But guess what? That means you're also like me, where you get to do the second one. Things you've been through. Your pain is your credential. So earning the right just ain't about how many degrees you got. Earning the right is about how much pain you done been through that now you can save somebody else from. Tests become testimony. There's always a message in your mess. A diamond don't show up till it gets dark, on and on and on. Y'all know this stuff already. So here's my ETR. Oh, I've never had a business in my life. I thought that put me on top of the world because I ain't got no boss. Turns out I was wrong. I had 2 sets of bosses. One was employees, one was customers. Well, one time when I was out of town, I got fired by one of my employees. It sucks to think about it now, but next thing I know, I was homeless. But after I changed my mindset, in the next 18 months, I opened 5 businesses, generated $500,000, and most importantly, fell deeply in love with my life. Is it okay if I share a little bit of the principles that changed my trajectory? Would that be okay? Yes. After that, you go to WIIFM. What's in it for me? What's in it for them? I'm going to give you 7 keys to changing your mind. We're also going to go over how anyone can access their genius. I don't have time to tell you all 7 keys today, so I'm just going to give you 4. Would that be okay? Now, what I just now did is called seeding. It's called seeding. Millionaires, if you don't get nothing else from this but the context being more important than the content, and then the fact that you always got to seed your, man, take that to the bank. Seed your conversation, because it's all about the fact that you're doing this for free so you can charge them later. You start off with something that's very low risk of time and money, and then eventually when they trust you, after you give value, give value, give value, add value, give value, add value, after that the world is yours. Millionaires. First you serve, then you rule. So the next step is data. So you start running through them. Okay, so boom, my keys to genius, and I start running down them, right? Y'all will hear about all of that later. I ain't even gonna. It's funny, I'm seeding y'all right now. But yeah, y'all will hear about my keys to genius on a later call or whatever. But you give them the data. After that, you get into a written exercise. Okay, so now, millionaires, I need you to write out the biggest thing that you do is failure where impossible. You've got 2 minutes. Ready? Go. You start the music to change their state and all of that while they're doing the written exercise. Imagine if your school was like this. These college courses that have you carrying this piano on your back the rest of your life called student loans didn't even teach you this way. That's why you don't remember nothing from none of them classes. And you probably was just in class earlier today. After that, you go to partner share. Okay, everyone pick a partner. I need an A or a B. I need one with short hair, one with long hair. You know, I need an awesome and an amazing. Okay, who's awesome? Let me see your hand. Who's amazing? Let me see your hand. Okay, awesome. Turn to amazing and say, I'm going first. I'm going first. They're having fun. They're laughing. You got them engaged. This is called super learning. After that, we do a class share. Okay, who heard one that was just awesome? No pun intended. Who heard a fantastic goal that somebody would do if failure were impossible, for instance? You know, talking about my workshops. Show of hands, let me see. Okay. Now, after they get finished, we acknowledge them, right? We're creating the context. This is somewhere where no matter what you say, you're safe. So we got to acknowledge that. We got to set up the rules. We got to monitor the energy. This is us creating context in a room. I hope this is making sense to somebody on this call. So now they share. Now we do what's called a state change. What is it called? I hope I heard y'all. So now you give somebody a high five. So now give somebody a high five and say, I believe you can do that. I believe you can do that. That was a state change. Now, we have a course called Profit on Purpose where we teach you all about creating financial freedom from your free time, right? I just seeded the talk with that. Now they're like, oh, what's that? Boom, it goes into their subconscious. Bing. But we ain't talking about it right now because now it ain't the time for that. Now it's the time to take it to the bookstore. So now we've run through the 4 things. We've done that data 4 different times. We've done the written exercise, the partner share, the class share. We've done some state changes. And I've done that for each of my data points, right? But now comes the fun part. Here's where you get rich, millionaires. It's time to open up the bookstore. So then, maybe I start off with a question. How many know money ain't everything? And if the work ain't fulfilling, we're crushing our soul? Okay, so how many agree that if people were living in their purpose, we'd have much less depression, crime, obesity, addiction, et cetera, et cetera? Is that true or true? Well, we've come up with a system to help people about that. Can I tell you a little bit about it? I got to ask permission. So far, the 3 steps I did was I asked questions, then I gave them a problem, and now I'm asking permission. See, because if I ask you permission to sell something, now I'm not being overbearing. Subconsciously, you can't get mad at me because you just gave me permission. And since I enrolled, what percentage of the room when I got started? 100%. Who in here wants to make money? Who don't care about money at all? I'm getting everybody in the room. 100% enrollment. Now I name the product. The name of mine, I'll go ahead and let you guys know because you'll be hearing about the course soon. You are going to love it. I promise to goodness, like this thing is going to be, it's going to change the world, right? But it's going to be called Profit on Purpose. How to turn your free time into financial freedom. Now, that's my real course. That's Haziq Ali's course, right? But you're going to come up with your own, especially if you let us mentor you and coach you through these processes. But the whole point is that next you go into learning the benefits. You told them the name of the product. Now we're going to learn the benefits. So if we teach you a formula for finding your purpose that has changed, we're going to teach you a formula for finding your purpose that has changed countless lives. You'll learn how to pull the excitement out of your life that most only dream of. You're going to learn how to generate ways to serve the world that barely feel like working. Then you get to the price, right? But you don't put up the real price. You talk about the comparison price. What is this worth to you? What is it worth to finally know your purpose and know why it is you're on the planet? We have a formula that is going to, we guarantee you're going to leave knowing one of your purposes. You're going to leave knowing. What is that worth? You start writing them numbers on the board, baby. We know that this course is worth 10 times this. To not only find your purpose, but find a way to get paid from it. You start telling them a little bit about the course. It's a 3-month program. It's 12 webinars total. At the end, you're going to be different for the rest of your life. Now you move on to the future bonuses. You know, one of my future bonuses is a book me and my friend are putting together right now called Cheat Code, 7 Rules and Tools They Should Have Taught Us in School. That's a $35 book. So I just write 35 on the board. Oh, weekly training calls. You get the access to the whole archive, which, of course, y'all get for free. You know what I mean? So enjoy this. But the point I'm making is that worth $150? Is that worth $250? My mentor would say I add a zero onto it. So for, you know, the high self-esteem gang on the phone, is that worth $1,500? Is that worth $2,500? To learn about mindset, leadership, sales skills, personal development, and I'm personally using, that is the reason that I'm even have any modicum of success that you may consider me having. Because make no doubt about it, I'm going for billionaire status. So I'm not looking at myself like I'm right here with y'all. But you list those future bonuses. After that, you give the reason. Now, your directors worked out a deal for you, so give them a hand. They've set it up so that you guys can get this whole course for this instead of this. Well, they've set it out because this is our first time offering this course and we need the testimonials. Here's what we're able to do for you. And then you give the limiter. For those who are ready to live by default, not design, we literally only have room for 24. So here's what we're going to do. If you promise to give us testimonials, and now you go to that board and cross out all of those prices, write in the real price, go now. It's in the back. They're only 24. Why are y'all still sitting here? Go now. And that, my friend, is how you give a workshop. So, man, we gotta get out of here. This has been it. But before we go, does anybody have any questions about any of that? If you do, then unmute yourself, *6, and we'll do like 2 questions. Say your name, where you from, and how many people you put on the call. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, my name is Haziq Ali. I hope you.
Haziq?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, it was Dylan from Miami. I had a quick question. Well, first, I think I put 2 people on, but
right on, Dylan. Right on. How you been, man?
I'm doing good. Long time no talk. Yeah. But I was gonna ask you, with that whole workshop presentation, could you do that with the Wake Up Now presentation when you have like an audience in a hotel room or whatever?
Man, you better. I just figured out why everybody's doing it wrong. But see, everybody's still doing okay, aren't they? This is just about the potential you could be reaching. This is about how many of your points are going to stick in their brain and let them retain it. So, yeah, people are doing fine with their presentations, even though some people put people to sleep. If you're especially talented, like some of the leaders in this company, you've been doing okay all along. Like Dylan, you're a monster. So I know your team is lucky to have you. But many others have just been modeling what they've been seeing, and they don't realize they're modeling the mediocre. And there's their life. Does that help?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? *6, if you want to unmute yourself, say your name, where you from, and how many people you put on the call. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Okay, what's your name, bro? Okay.
Hello?
Do we have any other questions?
Hello, you there, Haziq?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, this is Darren Devine, Atlanta.
Welcome, Millionaire.
What's going on, man? Could you repeat that guy's name again that you mentioned that does the super learning thing? You said Giorgio something?
Lozanov. 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 He's Bulgarian.
Okay, Lozanov. Lozanov. Nov. Okay, got it.
Lozanov. That's right. Great question, man. I hope everybody got that. Google these people. You might want to Google a guy named Daniel Coyle. He wrote a book called The Talent Code. That's another insane book. But study. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, Haziq, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Welcome, Millionaire. What's your name? How many people you put on the call? Where you from?
I appreciate it, man. I'm from Georgia. My name is Joey Lewis, and I put 6 people on the call.
Right on, Joey.
So I was wondering, have you ever taken the Wizard training course from T. Harv Eckers? I was thinking about enrolling in that, and I wanted your opinion if you had.
No, I haven't taken the wizard course yet. But one thing they told me about the wizard course was, like, for instance, this week we had a fire drill and everything was in chaos. But what I noticed about our mentor was that he was up there and he gave us two specific things. He said, one, never give too many directions at once. And two, the more that's going on, the calmer you have to be. Because when emotions are high, intelligence is low. So that all came from Wizard Camp. Another thing that Wizard Camp teaches you is that your word has to be absolute law. And there are many of us that have no success at all so far, strictly because of the fact that we do the very human thing of meandering. The wind blows us this way, oh, it's time to go to the left. The wind blows us this way, oh, it's time to go to the right. So Wizard Camp is all about the idea that we're going to be who we say we are. So I'm definitely going. If you go, you're definitely going to see me there. I think the next one is in Scottsdale, Arizona, early next year. But, yeah, everybody that don't know what Joel is talking about, email me, haziqali@gmail.com, again, or hit me on Instagram at Haziq Ali, and I'll plug this stuff to you. Yes.
Hell no, man.
Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, we're going to get out of here. Please put your phone. Yes.
Hey, Haziq.
Yes.
My fault. I got one last question, man. My name is Haziq Ali. I'm out of ATL.
Okay. Hey, if you're not on the call right now, could you please mute your phone, please? Please be respectful to your teammate. Okay.
You there? Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I was trying to see where do I get information for this recording. I'm sneaking on the phone at work. I want to get these notes, Doc.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to post the replay in a minute, and then here's what I'm going to do, too. I need people to help me spread these calls around. I do not have time to inbox everybody like, oh, the call is coming up. So if you want to be a millionaire-minded freedom fighter, then I need you to email me and put in the subject line, freedom fighter. We're looking to help people achieve financial freedom, and since we're on such a mission to spread this around for free, I need people to help me out. We need people to help us out. So haziqali@gmail.com. I need to know that you're about it. I'll give you the exact specifications. I'll give you the little tools and rules that we're using, and then there'll be all kinds of ways that you're going to benefit from that process. But that's for everybody that's on this call. If you notice that, like, we haven't been promoting the calls that much, it's because I'm throwing my hands up. It's like, hey, this stuff is for everybody that needs it. And so now it's on us. We've got to be the change that we want to see. So I appreciate that, Joel. You're going to see the replay post in just a second. My name is Haziq Ali. I appreciate everybody for being here, and I'll see y'all in about 7 days.
Haziq, one more. I have something I'll say.
Okay.
Hey, I was on a call and I already emailed you, but I didn't put Freedom Fighters in the subject line.
Okay, well, make sure that you hit me on Instagram or Facebook and let me know it's you, and then I'll message you on Facebook or whatever. I think my Facebook is kind of full, but I'm going to start deleting people that are just happy with mediocrity and they never engaging and stuff like that. I'm going to start getting rid of a lot of people that are in my circle, and then I'll be pulling in you guys that are a lot more active.
Yeah, it's Dylan. I already did it.
Okay, right on, Dylan. Okay, millionaires, we're going to get out of here. That's 20 seconds shy of an hour. And I appreciate y'all and honor y'all for being here. Have a good week, millionaires. Peace.